final retail Xbox Series X home a week or two ago. So that is getting there. But like,
well, he's got thousands of games to play on it. So
Today we're talking about attitudes of flight.
I mean, I guess they could wait till closer to the time, but like, you need a pre-order window, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to give yourself.
Did you see the Monster Energy stuff?
No.
So there's a Halo or an Xbox campaign in conjunction with the Energy Drink.
That's right.
Oh,
it's
yes,
still going forward, isn't
I
it?
had seen some photos of merch getting into, or like signage getting into stores.
Yeah, so they sent out a press release about it, and so the details and the rules of the contest are out there. And I guess someone backworked the estimated total value of the prizes divided by the number of Xboxes they intend to give away, and came to 599.
How your plane is oriented relative to the horizon.
I guess that math checks out.
If you look outside,
I mean, that's an estimate, so they would have
just
estimated on the
about
high
4
side
inches
because you don't
below
want
the
to go
horizon
low.
line. We're flying
So
straight with a
that
decent
could
rate of
always
speed.
change.
I would totally believe it. Like,
This is the
that
cruise
seems like that's
attitude.
something that Microsoft
Let's
would have
see how
to
it
indicate
reads
to
on your
them
instruments.
and say, like, hey, just to be safe, do this. We don't, and maybe it's not that, but maybe it is that. So,
I would totally buy the Series X at $599. That's not hard for me at all. Especially like if they're going to have a mid-tier priced thing at, let's say, $399.
yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that the market could handle a $599 console in a world where you've got a cheaper version as well.
Right.
Take a
we'll
look
see.
at the attitude indicator.
We'll see.
I don't think they.
As the
I
name
also
implies,
think that
it
they
shows your
don't
current
want
attitude.
to lose out to
The flight
Sony
line is the
on price
horizon,
stuff,
with the sky above and the ground
and
below.
would look to undercut them if at all possible.
That orange
So,
element in the middle, aligned
because
with
of
the
how things
horizon,
went last time.
that's your plane.
So they will at least match, if not
Just like we
be
saw outside.
cheaper
Our
than a
current
PlayStation
attitude
5.
reads
I would
pretty
think.
much straight
But,
level.
Do they lose anything if the cheaper model winds up
Okay, now
outselling
let's see how
the
much power the
$599,
engine's
supposed
generating.
$599
Check
model?
your
Not really,
tachometer.
because you don't make your money on hardware. You just need to get your,
Looks like
to
we're
get your
pushing
Trojan
around
horse in the door, you know, you get
2,300
the delivery
revolutions
mechanism
per
in
minute.
place, and then sell the software and accessories. That's where the actual
Combined,
revenue comes
attitude
from.
and
And even
engine
when you got
RPMs
Game Pass.
translate to
Yeah, I was
aircraft
gonna say,
performance.
if it's diskless and has less memory, then that's an even better sell
Which
for Game
leads us
Pass,
to your
right?
airspeed
I don't believe
indicator.
it's diskless, but I don't know.
Well, presumably it's going to have less storage.
Now, last but not
then.
least,
I
check
mean,
your altimeter.
What's going to make it cheaper then? Like,
To
the
figure
hardware
out
and
your
the graphics.
altitude,
Graphics
you
like
always
this.
want to read the small needle
The
first.
less powerful,
That's how many thousands of feet up you are.
like something
Then
that's
onto
probably
the
a
big
bit more
needle
akin
for the
to
hundreds.
what the Xbox One X is now, spec-wise, plus whatever bumps they can get
With
away
our
with
current attitude and power
without
output,
increasing price
we're
on that
holding
sort
a
of stuff.
speed
And,
of
and
90
don't forget
knots
they have
and
not
a stable
discontinued
altitude
these,
of 6,000 feet.
God, I'm already fucking mixing up these names. The Xbox One S.
But that's
has
about
not
to
been
change.
discontinued. They're still
Take the
making
stick
it.
when you're ready.
They're still going to sell it for a while, so they
Pull
may
back
be going
slightly
for
on the
like a
yoke to
three-tier
raise the nose just above the
product
horizon line. About 2
cheap
inches.
Series S, a mid-tier Lockhart. And
Make sure you don't
high-end
pitch up too
Series X,
much,
maybe?
or the angle will be too steep to create
That's possible,
lift.
but I don't.
And without enough
if
lift,
it
we'll
depends
stall.
on game compatibility and that sort of stuff. If you
All right.
if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I bought this game and I can't play it on my Xbox One
Welcome to the
S
climb
because it
attitude.
only runs on this other stuff. That's not a three-tiered
See how it
approach
shows
anymore.
up
That's
on your
what
attitude
play there is
indicator and
product.
The
tachometer?
play there is this is just a platform for you to use.
According to your
xCloud on.
altimeter, we're gaining
Right,
altitude.
right.
How
Well-
people stream the games that you can't run
But
locally
we're
now.
losing
That's
airspeed
stuff that
even
they
at full
are
throttle,
not going to get into
proving
until
you
next
can't
year because they're not
avoid
going to
basic
play Series
physics
X
while
games at
making a
launch.
climb.
That's not an upgrade they're making until 2021.
Okay,
And
before we go on,
and they still
let's
haven't
get
said,
back
hey,
to a
you're going to be able to
cruise
run
attitude.
xCloud on a console. Like, it's still just
Ease up
Android
on the
phone.
yoke
So,
and aim
like,
your
I
nose
think you're
just
absolutely
below the
right,
horizon.
but there's
Then throttle back down to
a few
2,300
things they probably have to
RPMs.
line up before they get there in terms of messaging.
Yeah, a lot of stuff still to reveal for how late in the year it's getting. Control. Second best game of last year?
Yes. It was the first best game of last year.
According to the experts, I forget.
Yes, the best game
Nice
of last
job.
year, according
We're
to
now
you.
set up with the same
So
attitude and
they have
power
announced
we had at the
a
top of our
kind of Game of the
lesson.
Year edition of Control Ultimate Edition is with the actual name.
Next
Control
up
Ultimate
is the
Edition.
descent
It's
attitude.
The actual name of the product. It's the game.
Start by
And the two
reducing your
DLC packs. They've
RPMs
also
to
been showing off that
1,800.
second.
Then
weight
drop the
focused
plane's
thing
nose
that
a
showed
bit further below the
15 minutes of it
horizon.
or something like that. Anyway, The Ultimate Edition is
As
going to be $40. It's
expected,
going to
with
be
a
everything that came out
nose-down
from Control.
attitude, our altitude
Where
is
this becomes a
decreasing,
news story
while our
is that they
speed
are
is
working
picking
on
up.
a next-gen PS5 and Series X upgrade for Control.
Why don't you get
That
us
as
back
of
to
right
a
now
cruise
is only
attitude,
going to be
and we'll hit
available
the
to
last
people
part
who
of our
buy the
lesson.
Ultimate Edition.
Right. So existing owners of old Control, even if they bought the DLC,
Yeah.
are ineligible for this.
Yes. So as of now,
There we
it's
go.
gonna change. There may
Now
be
that
more
we know
things
how to
announced, although
cruise,
they
climb, and descend,
probably should have gotten
let's
it out
talk
there
about
sooner
the
if that's
turn
case, but
attitude.
as of right now, it sounds like you will
Gently
have to
pull the
rebuy
yoke
the
left
Ultimate
or
Edition,
right
which is
to start
$40.
rolling the plane.
To get the next gen graphics version of
If you take a
Control.
look outside, you can see how our attitudes
and, like-
changed. But you can also check your instruments for the details.
This seems like there has to be
As
another
a general rule, you
shoe
always
to
want
drop
to
here,
keep your
right? Like there
turns
has to be
under
some kind
30
of upgrade
degrees.
path for existing owners, but this GameSpot story seems
At the
pretty
top
clear.
of your attitude
Remedy
indicator,
did confirm
there's
with
a
GameSpot
series
that
of
owners of the
notches
base game and its
representing 10
DLC are
degrees
not
each.
eligible for an
Use them to
upgrade.
control your roll.
Right.
That sounds pretty clear.
Yeah.
So,
Notice the more
yeah,
you turn,
and
the
maybe
more
they
you
won't
need to
sell
pull
one
back
to
on
them.
the yoke to maintain altitude. When
This
you're rolling
sucks,
out, you'll need to do
but
the opposite.
also, like, this is
Roll
one of
and
those things that,
push
like,
at
in
the
my
same
gut, I know
time.
this sucks. And when I start to pull it apart, I
The
go
more
like,
you know
well,
about
what
the
is a
main
realistic
attitudes of
expectation?
flight,
Because that
the
game's
closer
like
you get
from
to that
last year.
pilot state of mind.
And where is
So
the
keep
line
practicing, and
where you're
whenever
like,
done, pass me the
okay, this game is
controls.
too old for us to give out free upgrades to it. Like, I don't know where that line is. I just know that this doesn't feel right because specifically they're about to sell another version.
Right.
If they were just going to do a PS5 and Xbox Series X version of the game and sell it separately, and then say, oh, by the way, no, we're not doing upgrades because that game is a year old, I'd be like, well,
there will be no hubbub at all.
yeah.
Right.
But
Also,
the idea that they're doing this and selling it again, this is also going to coincide, I think, with the Steam launch of the game. It's still in Epic. I think that's where it goes awry and goes like, this feels wrong.
By the same token, if they had made this same announcement, but also said like, hey, if you own the old game, there will be a $10 upgrade path for you or a $15 upgrade, like something a little more DLC sized and not like you're buying the same content again. You know what I mean?
I think probably what I think would be the right thing for 505 to do, and it's, they're publishing the game, it's their game, they call the shots on this. I don't think Remedy is necessarily. This ain't always going to be Remedy. I don't know. I think probably this is what I would do if you bought Control and you bought the DLC. Then you get the upgrade. If you own both DLCs, you get the upgrade. If you just bought base game Control, you should buy the DLC, and then you'll get the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean that is very much the let's say the CD Projekt style move, the Microsoft first party style move. Like some of these bigger entities have absolutely been doing exactly that, right? It doesn't matter when you bought it or in what form. If you own this game, you get the better version of it when that comes along. But like Remedy is
how
not
many
of that
cases
size.
are we talking about games that are that old?
That's true. That is
Cyberpunk is not going to be that old. The first party Microsoft stuff is not necessarily.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is like Remedy is also not of the size of a CD Projekt. Like you can't necessarily invest that kind of work in.
And 505 is not not a huge publisher.
Right. Financially, it just may not make sense for them to do this work and then just give it away to the majority of people for free.
Yeah, they may be in a bind over that, but it still sucks. In a world where we're hearing more and more about free updates and all this other stuff, like it's just I think it's just weird because they're going to resell this Game of the Year edition and attach it to that. I think attaching it to that is where the problem is. If they had attached it to you owned the DLC, and so if you bought this Game of the Year edition, then of course you would own the DLC. Or if you bought the DLC for your other updated edition, we'll let you in also.
Right.
I would probably, I would feel a little bit better about it. I think that's a more realistic line to draw.
Yes.
Though you would probably have some people that would not be happy about that, but I think that's maybe a somewhat more defensible position. But I don't know, because that DLC is out, what is that? Is that this one? Well, when is this edition coming out? That's like
tab is August 27th.
okay.
August 27th on Steam, $40.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Ultimate Edition is not even out on the 27th on consoles. That's later.
Oh,
PS4
okay.
and Xbox.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it does highlight like how kind of confusing some of this policy making has been, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just on both platforms. They're just like, hey, developers can do it if they want, but they don't have to, and so then you just run into these situations where expectations are set by some companies, and then like.
And this is some of the stuff we talked about with the PS4 Pro launch, and like are devs truly incentivized to do the work to upgrade old games and all this sort of stuff. And in that situation, they were not allowed to charge for like an upgrade path that would get you like a Pro version or an Xbox One X version. But some of that, I feel like some of that conversation happened, and it goes away because this is all just around like the overlapping of the two generations and all this other stuff, and just like the whole upgrade conversation goes away.
Yeah, like a year from now,
9 months or something,
it's not gonna be discussed anymore.
Where we're not even thinking about PS4 and Xbox One games all that much. But right now, it's this huge confusing thing, and it's dumb.
Yeah, kind of messy. Marvel's Avengers. I know.
More like Marvel's Blah Avengers.
Whoa,
Ooh.
come
Right?
on. That's just
Take that, Tony Stark.
More like phony Stark.
uncalled for.
Oh.
Uncalled for. Just rude. Speaking of rude, people have been data mining that game.
Captain America.
Wow.
Oh.
This is just cannot believe this. Yeah, people have been data mining the beta and have come upon what, obviously subject to change, but certainly looks like the list of characters that will be ultimately rolled into the game, at least in the first phase. Should I just read this list?
Sure.
I'll just read this list. I know some of these have been announced or even are in the launching version of the game, but I'll just throw these out here. Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Doctor Strange. I mean, I guess a lot of these are the kind of the movie-focused ones, right?
Yo.
Falcon, Hawkeye, Hulkbuster,
Ooh.
Iron Man, Kamala, Kate Bishop, Marvel?
Ooh.
Marvel.
Marvel?
That's Ms. Marvel, yeah.
Okay. Forgive me, not a comic book person. Mockingbird.
Yeah, it's like you're a cool guy. I get it.
Quake? Maybe I should get into it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get it. Scarlet Witch, She-Hulk, Thor,
Yes.
Vision, War
Yeah.
Machine, Wasp, Black Widow, and Winter Soldier. That's a lot of characters.
Shulk.
And they're all gonna play the same.
So, was it confirmed that they're not going to be charging for characters, or that's not
Yes.
clarified? Oh, it is.
The characters are because they're going so hard on
Yeah,
cosmetics
sure,
and
sure.
and all
It just depends which phone provider you have, and
that. Right. Yeah. Get your Ouija board out and see where it points to, and like maybe you get. Nope. Sorry, no Spider-Man. Turns out no Spider-Man.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a pretty good lineup of characters for if they're going to be free.
Yeah.
It's a lot, at least.
Yeah, I mean that game needs something. I went back. Did anyone else play any more of the beta?
There's
5
an old
minutes.
saying I like.
I started.
A
Yeah, I think
mile
I
of
played
road will take you a
another
mile.
5 minutes of it, and
A
then
mile
it
of
crashed, and then I was
runway
like, I'm
will
free.
take you anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really wanted to give it like an honest
off isn't
second
hard,
chance,
but there
like
are a
because
few
I
key points
made
to
it through the
remember.
tutorial area last time, so I
First,
thought I could
we
dive right
always
in.
take
And
off into the wind,
every other
which
game
won't be
was
an
impossible
issue
to
on a
even
calm
find
day
a
like
match, and
today.
then when I was getting in, it was
Second,
just
before
so.
we enter a runway, we
It's
always make
so
sure
you're
it's
just
clear.
finding so many generic robot soldiers and shit. It's like.
That's what the movies are.
I mean, no, because the movies have like a villain there constantly plotting and stuff, and you're cutting to that villain, and it's all about defeating that villain. There's usually like a couple. There's usually like kind of like a fake like twist or whatever, where there's multiple villains and stuff. But this game is just like,
Come to think of it, like, who is the antagonist of this game? Did they even get that across?
AIM.
MODOK.
Game.
It's supposedly MODOK, I guess.
Modok's cool.
Yeah, MODOK is cool, but I didn't see him in my like 8 hours in the game. Like, it just, I want, if I'm playing a superhero
We're a
game,
bit
I want
too
there to
far
be
down the
superheroes
runway.
everywhere.
Let me
I'm not
move
a
the plane back
huge
into
superhero
position.
guy, so I want to see the characters I know pop up once in a while. Like, I want to see like throwaway bad guys, but it's like Marvel telling them exactly who they can and cannot use and when. It's just
Well, they're not going to put all their best stuff in the beta.
I don't even need all their best stuff. I want anything.
Anything, like something,
Anything.
like some kind of tease.
Well, was
Marvel
it
Heroes is really good at throwing you some named fight in some of those missions. You're like, oh, Electro's here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I gotta fuck this guy up. Oh, he's already dead? Okay, great.
Even
Taskmaster was in the beta, right?
Taskmaster's in the beta. Yeah, he is the first boss you see, and then after that, I fought Mean Hulk. Like I can name like there were two named bad guys that I saw in my 15 hours playing that game, and it's just so generic, and bland. It's so many just like dudes
We aren't moving
with
fast
a
enough.
gun
We'll
or a
have to
robot
abort
dude with
takeoff
an
and try
electric
again.
gun. And that game is really disappointing. Like I didn't even have super high hopes for it.
There's the feedback on attacks and stuff is so bad. I think going back to it, that was the thing that came into like a little bit more focus for me, was just like when you're taking damage, delivering damage, all that other stuff, like none of it feels impactful to the point where you're like, oh, I guess I've been getting hit this whole time. I was just so busy like wailing away on these guys, I didn't even notice. And like the HUD sucks.
There's an
The
old
like
saying
just
I
here's
like.
3 circles that represent your 3 powers in the corner, and those meters fill up. I don't know. Is it a cooldown?
It looks like
Doesn't seem like
it looks like a GameCube HUD.
Totally, it does. Yes, it absolutely does. It's like huge in a weird GameCube-y kind of like low res way. Also, yeah, man, it's I don't know.
Looking at this list of characters, and
A mile
hearing
of
how
road
similar
will take
a
you
lot of the
mile.
heroes play,
A mile
I
of
already see
runway
them
will
kind of
take
falling
you
into
anywhere.
specific archetypes. Like Hulkbuster's probably going to
Taking
play like
off
the
isn't
Hulk.
hard, but there are a few key
Black
points to
Ant-Man is gonna
remember.
play like Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
First,
It's like,
we
it feels like
always
Lego
take off
games where you've
into
got
the
like
wind,
this is the
which
character.
won't be an
When the
issue on a
characters
calm day
can
like
fly,
today.
they do this exact thing.
Second,
When
before
characters
we enter
can
a runway,
swing,
we always make sure it's clear.
like Black Widow can, and I'm sure Spider-Man will be able to on a PlayStation. You know, it works like this, and Hulk can grab the walls, and other characters that can do wall grabs, they move like this, and it just, you start to see that stuff kind of click into focus a little bit more, and it's just like, I don't know, man, none of that seemed fun. The characters didn't feel like truly differentiated in a way that played to their strengths, and I just felt like a bad beat 'em up and a bad Marvel experience, honestly. Like, you know, like that's the one thing, like as much as I don't care that much about superheroes and the movies and all that other stuff, like when those games are good, they're damn good, because those powers can be fun to use and the characters can do like a lot of really crazy shit. But this just feels like they're like, well, the levels are the levels, and so you're gonna have to get through them this specific way, and maybe you can kind of swing here and there, maybe you can kind of fly if you want to, but you don't really need to, and you know, just, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was true to any of the characters, or it didn't feel like it was taking true advantage of what those characters can theoretically do, I guess.
Yep.
Well, that game's close. What is it, like 3 weeks? Something like that?
Shit, really?
Yeah. Wow. 4th of September, right? Should probably look that up just to make sure.
God, that's so soon.
That is just
I got some
from,
shit to fix.
Memory off of the head. Where is this released date? Somebody fill time.
I will also look for the release date.
Found it.
I-
Yes, 4th of September. Yes, that is very soon.
That is wow.
It is very soon.
I didn't have super high hopes, but like I saw the potential in like a loot based kind of beat 'em up with these characters. Like that could totally work.
Yep.
You know, with the power sets, it could be fantastic. It could be great.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying last week, where it feels like it's stuck in between a AAA game and like a single A. It has like the visual presentation of a modern Marvel movie, but then all the trappings of like an adequate brawler. I don't know. I feel like it has no identity for itself. Really.
Environments and the enemies and stuff like kind of look shitty. Like I'm okay with the way the playable characters look and you know, something people were clowning on it for back at E3 where they're like, that doesn't look like the guy from the movie. Like, you know, that stuff's lost on me anyway. So,
$10 million to use Robert Downey Jr.'s face.
Yeah, it's like these characters existed before these movies. Like, fucking give it up. But yeah, I don't know. I think the characters look okay at best, and then the environments and stuff just look really boxy and generic, muddy and bad. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, you think about how long they've supposedly been working on this. Because remember when it finally got announced, like that was a game I feel like for like the last 2 years before that, everyone knew like, oh, they're working on this big Avengers game. Supposedly it's gonna be this big live service thing. Like, you know, it was not a secret. So they've clearly been grinding away on this thing for a long time. And then you're like, here we go. And you're like, oh, okay. And that was E3. And then now we're like, okay, ideally you've taken that feedback in and here we go. And oh, okay. No, it's still kind of that. All right. Good luck.
I'm curious to how the multiplayer winds up feeling. Because from what I remember from the bit I played, it was very heavy on the set pieces, and those are always awkward when you're trying to do it with multiple players.
Yeah.
Go from point A to point B, smash these dudes.
That's what the missions are outside of that initial kind of tutorial stuff. Like when you're at least the ones that I tried were very low on the set pieces. It was very much just like, yeah, all right, you're gonna get them in a stun state, then you're gonna go up and hit these 2 buttons and do a finisher, and then you're gonna just do some ranged attacks, do this, and yeah, it felt like a much more like here's an open area, and then over here are 8 guys you need to go clobber them, and then go over here.
Wrong guy.
He's not there.
CM Punk isn't in the game.
He's 4 and he's in there, so I want to match with him.
They even screwed up the loot. Like, it's not.
The loot is bad.
It's not meaningful.
It doesn't show up on the characters.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on the characters.
That's one fun thing about Risk of Rain 2, to dip back for a second, is everything you pick up just gets awkwardly like stitched onto your character. By the end, you have like 18 things.
I had a jade elephant on my ankle.
Sounds all right.
In a world where they want to sell you costumes, you know, the same way Marvel Heroes did, like I get why the loot doesn't show up on the character, because they're like, no, you look like the movie. And I like that Injustice was able to get away with that when they were just like, no, we're just going to give you like a bunch of weird shit.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty cool.
That was an effective way of displaying that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Avengers may be soon, but you know what's not?
Halo Infinite?
Yes. No. Cheer the delayed Halo. I meant to bring this up when we were talking about the console launches and pricing and stuff, but this just happened during the podcast. Deathloop from Arcane Lyon, the God, I can never keep it straight. They're the Dishonored studio, right? And Austin did Prey. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
I can never remember which Arcane did which Arcane games.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Because there is a split there. But anyway, the new game from Arcane in France has been pushed from, according to the Google cache, the previous release time frame was December of this year. Also remember that is a PS5 console exclusive for a time at least, if not permanently. It has been delayed to Q2 of next year. So that
game looks neat.
Yeah, that game looks cool. I did not realize it was a like console launch window game. I thought that was a ways off.
Yeah, no, that was like one of the ones that Sony kind of picked up, presumably because they didn't have a lot of games of their own, and they're just like, well, let's try and differentiate. And now they're like,
Yes, so that would have been like a pretty major release for people who bought PS5s this year. But they cite similar stuff to Halo of, you know, like the kind of new work from home situation that's been imposed on them has not had the best effect on getting a game done. They need more time to polish and et cetera, et cetera. So I wonder how much more of this we're going to see. Not that there's that many games coming out this fall anyway. Trying to think what else there even, like what other major releases are there to delay at this point. But
yeah.
But I do wonder how much more of this type of thing we will see.
It's killing my hype.
Yeah.
Like I'm not jazzed about the current state of things for these new consoles. I should be excited, right?
Yeah,
Right?
in a normal year, we would be coming out of E3 with like a better sense. Here are the games that are coming out this year, and you go like, oh, there's a couple of things in here I would really like to. I'm excited to see how it does, and all stuff. And now it's like,
Interesting.
There's this weird buzz that seems completely unsubstantiated. I probably shouldn't even say it, that Cyberpunk is going to be delayed again. I have no idea where that's coming from. I shouldn't say that because
I could see it.
I don't see. I have not found. I looked and I dug fairly deeply trying to figure out where this was coming from, and I couldn't find anything legitimate.
I wonder if that's just people just saying like, because of course it is,
right?
And that's just the goof going around.
Maybe,
but
yeah,
that's what I would think. But also, if they showed up tomorrow and said, by the way, we're not going to make our date, I'd be like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it would not be the slightest bit surprising to me. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Weird.
Well, hey, if you can't get new games out, what if you just put out some old games?
What if?
Did you guys talk about this one of the weeks that I was out? Because this apparently has been rumored for a while that Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is being remastered for this fall.
I don't think
it is now. Yeah. There now has been an Amazon product listing that went up and then was taken down.
And this was in conjunction with the one that was for Nuts, which was the Joseph Ferris game. That's their project code name or something. So
okay.
I think it happened around the same time as that.
Okay.
Did it? Anyway. Yeah, this has been rumored for a bit, and they that game. It's funny. My initial reaction was, that game's not old enough. What are you doing? And I looked. I was like, oh, I guess it's 10 years old.
It was a decade old. So that game's great.
Yes, that was a really good.
yeah.
Like, they did good with the multiplayer in that game.
Cool as hell in that game. I would play some more of that.
Yeah, and if they did something like that, where it was, it's probably more of a reimagining or a reboot or something than just a strict remake of it, because I don't think that would be as exciting. But yeah, I don't know. Anything would be more interesting than the path they've been on for this entire generation of consoles with Need for Speed. So, why not just try to lay some kind of foundation out based on that stuff? The series has gone back to Criterion. Ghost Games has been dissolved or whatever, or those people just folded into Criterion, or they moved back into DICE or whatever the deal is. I don't know. But they're not using the Ghost Games label anymore. So if they're going to say, hey, Criterion's making a Need for Speed game, this is a good one that Criterion made. So
good way to reintroduce that pairing, I guess.
Yeah. What are you more interested in, that or Mass Effect trilogy?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I guess Mass Effect by default, because it would be nice to have that stuff like kept alive in a more easily accessible form. But at the same time, like, am I going to play through another 100 hours of the Mass Effect trilogy again? I don't know.
They did work to Mass Effect 1 to kind of bring the gameplay up to par.
Yeah, I think it would take a lot of work, though.
Take out the Mako section.
That's like serious design work to get that game feeling modern, I think.
I would kind of like to dip back into that multiplayer.
Yeah, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is pretty good. It would be nice to have. It would be a very cool thing to have. I just don't know that I would actually spend the time.
Huh.
Would they even do the multiplayer if they couldn't sell the blind boxes?
Man, I bet not. I could totally see a remastered Mass Effect trilogy without any multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, from one old racing game to another. This is a weird one. I don't know if there's much precedent for this. So, Microsoft has basically said that Forza Horizon 3, bear in mind that Horizon 4 is kind of the quote-unquote current one.
Yeah.
Horizon 3 is reaching what they were referring to as end-of-life status next month, at which point they are no longer going to sell the game. Like, they are quite literally delisting it from sale. You will be unable to buy Forza Horizon 3 as of next month, which
a mile
I
of
don't know
runway
there's a
will
lot of
take you
precedent for.
anywhere.
Like, saying like,
Taking
the
off
seasons
isn't
are done,
hard,
we're not putting out any
but
more
there are
content,
a
the live
few
events
key
will no
points
longer
to
be supported,
remember.
like stuff like that I get, but like straight
First,
up
we
making it
always take off into
no
the
longer
wind,
accessible if you don't
which
already
won't
own the
be an
game is
issue
like
on a
feels
calm
like
day
kind
like
of a
today.
big step.
It's got to be.
Before we enter a runway,
think it's a licensing
always
thing?
make
It's got to be
sure it's
licensing.
clear.
It's got to be related to cars.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was a while there that Porsche was being like. I think for Forza 3, for Horizon 3, they sold a separate Porsche car pack. Because for the longest time, EA had the exclusive rights to
Right.
the Porsche brand,
Right.
and
Everything looks good. No cross
and so
traffic.
like I think they had
Go
to
ahead
cut
and taxi into
EA
position.
in on the deal when they sold these cars. Even
rudder
I'm not
pedals should
sure,
make steering
like a
the plane pretty
sub-licensing
easy.
thing or something, but yeah, that's it's got to be cars.
Yeah.
It's got to be like some licensing deals expired, and they're just like, we're not going to redo this deal. It's not worth it to us to do it. So they're just going to take it off sale.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
Chad's pointing out, I had forgotten about this. I think I had heard this in the past, that they did this with the previous 2 Forza Horizon games,
Oh, did they? Okay.
which I had totally forgotten about. So,
Yeah.
maybe not the sign of like bigger things to come from Microsoft in that category.
All right, let's do this.
Music.
Apply full
Yeah,
power and I'll
I
walk
feel like
you
it's got to
through
be
the
some
takeoff as we
licensing thing,
go.
whether it's music or cars or both, that they're doing this.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for them to not just keep selling a game, even
Use your
digitally, just like,
rudders to stay on the
fuck it,
center
buy it,
line
we don't
and
care.
Keep pushing power until you
Anyway,
reach 55
Forza
knots.
Horizon 3 is very cheap right now. If you just want to go get it locked in, so you can continue to have access to it.
Yeah, or you could
Good.
get it on a disc.
Now
for sure.
gently pull back on the
and
yoke.
Get a used copy or something like that.
Line up
but
the
then
top of your instrument
but the
panel
DLC
so
will
it's
go
a
off
couple
sale
inches
at
above
some
the
point as
horizon.
well. So
That'll
even
pitch
that
us
would not
up and
necessarily
set
be
a
the full
good climb
game.
attitude. And we're airborne.
So that's happening next month.
Focus on flying
let's
straight.
see.
Use your
There's a
rudders to keep the
Nintendo
runway
Indie
heading at
showcase this morning.
210 degrees.
Yeah.
Right
Maintain
before this
75
podcast, because I
knots,
did not get a
and
chance
we'll reach
to
our
watch
target
Ben. I know
altitude
you
of
mentioned it. Did you watch
5,500
it?
Can't
feet
believe
in
they
no
didn't
time.
show Bayonetta 3! Just kidding.
That independent game, Bayonetta 3,
Hey man, Platinum Games is technically still independent.
for
now.
Nintendo's public.
Yeah, I watched most of it.
Okay, I've got the list of stuff in front of me. It looks like scrolling through it. Hades has been confirmed for Switch. Is that a date? Sometime before the end of the year. Looks like it'll be out of early access on PC and also on Switch. That game seems to be like a great fit for the Switch.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple of those in there. Subnautica.
Oh, okay.
A short hike.
Short hike. Yeah, that game seemed cool. I meant to.
You can go on a
That-
short hike.
And that's for like out
play a short
today.
hike.
That one's
Yeah. I refuse to go on a short hike.
Oh god, they're putting co-op in Untitled Goose Game. Weird.
Yeah. They're adding a second goose.
Sure, why not?
double honking.
Grindstone for Switch.
Hypnospace.
Yeah, that
and
was-
that's getting a bunch of new
was kinda-
stuff.
Kind of saving that one. That seems like the other big announcement because they're making a bunch of new stuff for it.
That seems like a weird. That's going to come to other consoles, I think,
Ah,
too.
5,500
and that
feet.
seems like a
nice
weird game to
safe
play on a
altitude
platform
for
without
part
a
2 of our
keyboard
lesson.
and mouse. That's
Straight
that
and
game is
level
meant
flight.
to evoke a certain
First
thing.
step here is
and
adjusting our
that's a little
attitude.
Weird, but
Well, these consoles have keyboard and mouse support now, right?
yeah. I mean, I
Plug
guess
them
they're
in, they fit. That's in there.
gonna bring my Switch up to the rooftop, and then a USB-C hub, and then
So yeah, nothing like earth-shattering, but there's some Switch stuff there.
I'm interested in seeing like the expansion stuff for Hypnospace. Like they're adding the stuff that they're adding. Like that's, I think the one thing out of this, I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. I definitely want to see that. So, new music.
Jeff, this just happened as we were starting. I don't have the full story here, but looks like Facebook is going to start requiring a Facebook account to use Oculus products. Is that the correct read on this?
Yeah, that's the thing they went ahead and announced. So existing accounts will stay separate for now, but as of like October, I think you will have to create a Facebook account to use Oculus stuff. And yeah, of course, like even though they at one point said no, we're not doing this, like
We're not doing this now.
here's his face. Here's his face. I got. So I guess not a huge surprise that they're doing that. And then I think over like eventually, what does it say here? By 2023, which if we make it that far, that
big
will be
assumption.
when existing Oculus accounts will need to be attached to and or replaced with a Facebook account. So yeah, I don't know. Like this was already Facebook. It wasn't like Oculus was already Facebook. It didn't use a Facebook account, but it used an Oculus account. It wasn't like they got you either way.
Yeah,
man.
it's not like
it's
like they didn't
opening you
have
up
access
to
to
more shit than just having an Oculus account would have. Otherwise, I doubt it. It's probably already bad, right? It's already Facebook. And I thought about it. I was like during the break. I was like, oh well, I think Instagram still has separate logins, but Instagram's a lot bigger than fucking Oculus is. I bet in terms of usage and everything else. They probably still warrant not fucking with that just yet, but they get there eventually too.
You probably noticed to maintain
Yeah,
altitude,
I don't
you
know.
need to
I
pitch
don't-
the nose up. You could just
I don't
keep
know that I
pulling on
have
the
a
yoke
huge
to hold
reaction
steady,
to this,
but that's
other
not
than
really
like,
a precise means of control.
of course
Probably
they're doing
better to
this.
adjust
I
your
just think it
trim
really
wheel
sucks
until you don't
for
need to push
people like
or
myself
pull
who
on
have
the
deleted
yoke.
their Facebook account,
Drag the
right? There's a
trim
ton of
down
people.
when
There's been a
you need to
huge
set the
push
nose
to
up.
delete
Drag
Facebook,
it up
and a
to
lot
set
of
the
people have
nose
done
down.
it, and
Try adding
now
trim
those
to keep
people,
us
I
at
mean,
5,500 feet without
in a
increasing
sense, you are
throttle.
already still
If you
supporting
feel our pitch
Facebook.
slipping
You're
and
buying
need
into
to
the
get back to
Oculus
the
thing,
proper
but there's
attitude,
always
Just
levels. Like
pull on
people
the
love
yoke,
to get all
then
high and
dial
mighty
in
of
the
like,
right trim.
oh, you deleted Facebook, but you still have an Instagram. Like, yeah, yes, that is true, but like, there are levels to being able to, in your own ways, push back against a company that you believe is extremely destructive and ruining the world and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think it's really scummy.
Yeah, I think also like if that's the position you want to take, don't get an Oculus product.
Yeah.
Like there are alternatives out there. Granted,
all of
as
the
nice as it is like also, I think some of this is probably indicative of just like, hey, why don't we just make this Oculus stuff easier to maintain? It's not like it's blowing up, like it's doing fine, but it's not like VR is taking over the world out here. So, fuck it, roll it in. It's one less auth system to maintain. Like I'm sure they're on their end, they're just like, roll it in, whatever. Like some people will be mad, like, oh, people mad at Facebook every day, whatever. So I don't. It's hard for me to like just don't get the product to begin with. I think like that's the thing I would say. And if you have an Oculus login and it's not attached to Facebook, it's still owned by Facebook. It's still there. So I don't know. I just it's. There are get a different headset.
Yeah, there are some.
Send that message and get a different headset.
There are good other headset options out there. But granted, they also all require some kind of account. But not Facebook.
Valve Index wants a Steam account, and you're going to need one of those anyway for most of the VR games you want to play.
Yes.
So that's where the porno lives.
Yes. You got a Microsoft account to use a mixed reality headset, et cetera. Anyway. A couple more quick things. They announced a class-based 4-player co-op mode for Ghost of Tsushima. Cool.
This sounds crazy, yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima Legends is the name of it. Yeah, like, that's not where I would have expected this game to go. But sure.
Yeah, they're doing like co-op missions with like class-based stuff, and they're saying that they have a raid-like thing for it. Like that sounds like it could be cool.
What is it? It's Samurai, Hunter, Ronin, and Assassin are the names of the 4 classes.
Yeah.
Play. Yeah, it's kind of a neat idea. Like they're going in a much more of like a mythological direction, which I think is cool. Like, I meant to. I was going to bring it up in the first segment. Maybe we'll talk about it more next week. Like, I've really been like hot and cold with that game. Yeah. I keep going back to it and then falling off of it again for a variety of reasons. We'll talk about it once I do that one more time. But one of the things I keep thinking as I'm playing it is like, what if this was more like The Witcher? You know, like what if this was more of a mythologically tinged, like rolling lots of some like supernatural elements of Japanese folklore into this
What
world?
if every samurai ghost story they told you didn't end with you killing a bandit?
Right. Yes. Yes. What if? What if all the creepy like midnight stuff that you do wasn't just bandits? But like,
bandits.
I mean, the bigger point for me is like that world is so big and lush, and I just wish there was a little more like texture and depth to it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Some of the storytelling and some of the side missions I think is not bad. So, anyway, it's cool that they're doing that for this add-on, and it's free. So,
Cool.
Seems like a neat little bonus.
Can't wait to take photos with my samurai posse.
Oh yeah, everyone's just striking a different pose.
That's right. And then last thing real quick here, I guess this may have happened a while back, but it's just come to light through like LinkedIn recently that Laszlo of Rockstar fame is no longer with Rockstar.
Not Laszlo.
Laszlo Jones,
Yeah.
long time
He,
like
a
creative
lot of right
yeah.
form,
Yeah.
talk radio stuff.
Yes,
and-
yes. He was a kind of a radio DJ guy. Like, kind of, he was really like part of the sort of Hauser like creative brain trust, right?
Yeah, eventually, I don't know that he started there. I think I want to say they just brought him in on GTA 3
Right.
externally to just
as a
like
voice, right?
radio stuff because
Yeah.
he was a radio guy.
Yeah.
And that's when you needed that sort of stuff. And I think he just kind of became part of that thing and stayed part of that thing.
Right. To the point that he was listed as one of the writers of Red Dead 2.
Yeah,
And stuff.
yeah.
Like right there with Dan Hauser.
I used to do a radio show with the guy who did the similar stuff for the early Saints Row game, or
Okay.
one of the early Saints Row games.
Okay. Sounds like he may have actually left back in April. Like I said, this just sort of got out recently, but
Yeah.
that's not that long after Dan Hauser was out of there.
Right. Yeah.
So-
So maybe they're off to do something else, or maybe they're both just like looking at the direction the company was heading in and going, this is not for us, or you know, like I don't know.
It just does kind of like build on the idea of there being kind of a changing of the guard at Rockstar.